Let the team at Black Hills Information Security test your defenses. With over 10 years of experience in penetration testing, red teaming, and threat hunting, the testers at Black Hills will help you find the holes in your security before the bad guys do. The team at Black Hills cares about educating and sharing their knowledge by creating countless blogs, open source tools, and webcasts for you to learn more about the tradecraft of pen testing and red teaming. Visit securityweekly.com/BHIS to join their mailing list and view the latest blogs and webcasts from Black Hills Information Security. These days, it's rarely a case of if you'll be hacked and more of a question of when. Once the attacker has passed your defenses, they cover their tracks and systematically infiltrate your network to steal information or shut your business down. You need to rethink the way security is delivered for your digitally transformed business, and there's one security solution that delivers it all: NetScout. Get visibility without borders for consistent detection, mitigation, and prevention across any network, data center, cloud, 5G, and more. Learn more at securityweekly.com/NetScout. Welcome back, everyone. Quick announcement to get started, before we get started, rather. Security Weekly will be at Hacker Halted in Atlanta, Georgia, October 10th through the 11th. EC Council is offering our listeners a 15% off discount to sit in for any of their bootcamp courses or workshops. Visit securityweekly.com/Hacker Halted to register today. Jared Haggerty is here with us. He's a 20-year veteran of IT tech in the technology industry, brings a proven track record leading the architecture testing and deployment of custom solutions. I'm told you implemented Automox and are really liking it and are here today to talk about it. Jared, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So Matt, I know you're also an advisor of Automox. Security Weekly is also an Automox customer. So this is kind of going to be an Automox love fest, and well-deserved, because I mean, I love their product. Our team uses it, and it's fantastic. So,
yeah, I like to hear from customers, right? People in the field that are struggling with the problem, looked at different solutions, and then selected a solution. And Jared, what I really want you to kind of help everybody understand here is, first, give an overview of Databerry and who Databerry is, but more importantly, help us understand some of the things you were struggling with, and then we can kind of walk through how you went about trying to solve them, and then kind of where you are today and some of the benefits you're seeing from what you've done.
Sure. So, I mean, when we started, managing lots of servers and whatnot, of course, that's any IT guy's nightmare, so to speak. But what we had to do is we kind of built an internal list at our company of what resources and what technology, we needed to support. And then, of course, what, the pain was managing all these server systems. So we kind of did an internal analysis in that. We had a couple of team meetings and, built out a document that kind of outlined all the various different technologies that were available at the time, like SolarWinds, Manage Engine, Automox, WSUS, so on and so forth. And essentially, by doing that, we kind of made a process of elimination on what features and functionalities we really cared about. And one of the biggest things we really cared about was a web-based system. There was very few of those systems. Most of them required a server install and a lot of configuration and a big learning curve and a lot of customization, such as like Chef Ansible. It's open source. Anybody can use it, but did it really apply, to our situation? No, because it would have taken many, many hours to get it implemented. And then it kind of was the closest thing that we had. But then, there are a lot of commercial products out there, like SolarWinds and Manage Engine and Automox, so on and so forth. But none of them had a web interface and a full API, which was one of the biggest part of our selection process, because we needed a way to integrate our RMM basically with other internal products and systems that we have at Databerry to manage our clients. We also needed something that was really MSP friendly. A lot of the products say on the market that they're MSP friendly, but they're not. And I mean, if you're not just running your RMM for your internal company, in our situation, we're managing multiple clients. So a little bit about Databerry before I kind of digress off. But essentially, we build applications and we manage servers for clients, in a simple mix of things. And then, of course, websites and things of that nature. But in order for us to really concentrate on building their applications and maintaining their applications, We don't really want to be tied up in the minutia of ongoing server patches and maintenance and monitoring. So we offloaded most of that to Automox because it had a lot of the features and functionalities that we wanted. Plus, it was super modern. Most of these other technologies like Symantec and WSUS, these things were invented years ago. And they weren't really looking at a web-based platform. They were really shooting more for, an internal company management on an internal network and how to save bandwidth, so they could pull, those central repository down from the internet, from Microsoft, for the OS patches or whatever, and then essentially be able to divvy out that patch, to their internal systems without, that being in mind. But now in today's world, everybody is working from everywhere. And, everybody's are using multiple data centers, multiple computers everywhere. And if you got employees like are out in the field and they're on a laptop, you've got one in Taiwan and you've got somebody in Amsterdam and you've got somebody in Florida, to manage all that with most of these other tools, they weren't capable of doing that. Automox
Jared, I'm going to stop right because I love what you've set up so far, because it really got me thinking that when a lot of these, let's talk about patch management systems, were set up, right? Older software that's been around for a really long time was designed and built that there would be a very limited set of users, right, that would need to apply patches to systems. They were designed that they were all on-premise because maybe there was no cloud when they were developed, and the interoperability really wasn't there because a lot of those technologies that allow for the great APIs we have today didn't exist. Fast forward to today, if you can deploy an application into the cloud, you can handle those user roles very, very well, and offer an API, you're going to see much more customer adoption, better customer adoption, and a lot more people are going to want to buy your product, such as yourself implementing it for largely those reasons, which I think is great.
Yep. And a lot of them too, I find that aren't very focused. They say they're RMM, but then they're concentrating more on security, or they're concentrating more on asset management. Right. And to an MSP may not be as valuable. We use different products for our security lineup. Mm-hmm. We may use, like, for instance, Symantec endpoint protection, instead of having it integrated with like GFI LandGuard was one of the other products mm-hmm. that we were looking at. They pushed more of an endpoint security. Even though they boasted it to be an RMM tool, it was really more focused on network security. And that's not something we were looking for. We were looking for more patch management and automation. And, and like I said, web-based API was huge because we could manage any system anywhere at any time. And we could even do it from an iPad. And simplicity was mm-hmm. another major factor for us. We didn't want to sit down and have to train our staff on all the ins and outs of, like, for instance, the Symantec IT management suite. That thing is so complex, and so is ConnectWise. ConnectWise has another product too, ConnectWise Automate. They were very good in a lot of areas, but they were super, super complex. So we would have to invest a lot of time in customization and training. And let's just put it this way: in today's world, that's not, that's not the direction. The direction is innovation without complication. Apple is built on that, and I think that with Automox, they really simplified that process for the IT administrator, MSP administrator, whatever you want to call us. Or the users using Automox. Even though we are advanced users, we're not, your normal, everyday, let's say, end user.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, when you talk about the environment, how distributed is the environment at Databerry? I mean, number of locations, number of potential servers. How broad and big is the environment that you're managing today?
Yeah, it's huge. It's world-based. So basically, we've got customers in AWS, we've got customers in Azure, we've got customers at dedicated, hosting facilities with all kinds of vendors. We don't really, we're kind of, I guess the word isn't really agnostic, but we're kind of hosting agnostic. We don't actually provide hosting as a service-based, professional services-based company. We, but the customers that we have, they can select any cloud platform that they want to move to. So, if you can imagine, if we got to manage customers in AWS and we got to manage customers in Azure, we need something that's internet based. It cannot be LAN based. And like he was saying earlier, it really, that's like 1980s, or 1990s, I should say, where you've got a centralized management server that's pushing these patches out. Well, we don't have to worry about that with Automox. It's all web-based. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and because of the diverse environment, that means diverse operating systems. That means Windows, Mac, Linux. Pretty much anything, right? I mean, variations of Linux all over the place with the different cloud providers.
It was one of the few, if not the only one of this kind with all these features that also supports all three platforms.
Correct. No, it's not. There are other products that do support the Windows, Linux, and Mac. It's pretty standard across the board. Actually, some of them don't. We ran across probably 3 or 4 of them that actually didn't have Mac support. Like, for instance, Azure, of course, didn't. And what we call, WSUS didn't have Mac support at the time. I believe they still don't. There was another product that we called Pulseway that had very limited Linux support. And that was a huge problem, too. It wasn't that a lot of them didn't provide it. It's also there was limitations as to what you could do with certain operating systems. So like you could patch certain things in Linux, but you may or may not be able to provide, let's say, an additional level of monitoring that's needed or beyond like certain pages. So if you had, let's say Ubuntu instead of CentOS or Red Hat, the system may not handle that. Yep, whereas Automox can handle any Linux brand. So far as in our testing and in the clients that we have it deployed on Ubuntu, Cent, Red Hat, all of them have been working flawlessly. But again, there were some that you can only use Ubuntu or CentOS or whatever.
Yeah, we find that too because we'll swap out Linux distros largely for the support of the production here, right? Like it's very specific niche need, and sometimes we're like, you know what, for this project we're going to use Ubuntu instead of Debian or whatever, right? And Automox was fine with everything, so.
Exactly. And a lot of them also didn't support Mac, surprisingly enough, at the time. Now, of course, when we did this selection process, it's been a little while. It's been probably about 6 months or so. So some of my information may be dated and don't hold me to it. But essentially, an OS agnostic, update system is extremely important in today's world because you've got users, even like for desktop support. Let's switch gears and talk about desktop support. Under desktop support, you may say, it supports Linux, but, there's very few end users that are running a Linux workstation. And outside of the IT world, of course, is what I mean. I mean, your average accountant or your average, home healthcare facility or something like that, they're running Windows, generally speaking. So, having that ability to support all those devices, regardless of flavor, it was definitely a huge factor in our decision.
Yeah, process. Paul's one of those crazy people that runs a Linux machine on his day-to-day. I'm a Mac guy personally. But
all three, Paul. My system here at work, home, and my laptop, all Linux.
I guess I'm a Windows fanboy.
Yeah, and that's the nice part. We use different operating systems for various reasons, right? And I think a lot of other organizations might as well. So that's what was nice about Automox in having that support. Now, you've got one platform rather than 2 or 3, which are typically not as good, right? I remember back in the day, like Apple had its own like patching management system, right? And there's different levels of Microsoft and their patching WSUS, versus whatever they call it. Now, I don't know what it's called now. It's gone through like naming changes back in the day, right? There's different levels of what the vendors will provide in terms of patching. So having that all on one platform saves you so much time too. Absolutely.
I mean, it is like about the tool for the job, I mean, if you're using, some of my engineers would probably disagree with me on certain things, but, Windows is great for certain things. Yep. Linux is great for certain things. Mac is great for certain things. I don't think you could just blindly say, hey, this OS is the OS supreme,
For sure.
So it does add a whole level.
Jared, question about the team that manages Automox. I'm just curious, now that you've got it deployed, I mean, what's that sustaining team look like? Because you're very distributed, lots of different devices that you're managing. I'm curious, what does that team look like, and what do they do on a day-to-day basis? Because I think others would want to know kind of the management side of this.
Absolutely. That's a good question. So what we did is we actually had 3 engineers almost full time doing patching, updating, and managing that whole infrastructure for our customers, which was insane, before we had Automox. After Automox, we've eliminated that. We've got it down to basically 1 engineer, and he's got it scheduled. So, I mean, everything is pretty much automated. He has to, of course, check in every now and then. If there's a problem, he'll get a notification. So as far as that's concerned, there's really 2 engineers right now. We had 3 full-time engineers doing all the patching and updating and managing these servers. We are now down to 2 part-time engineers that work on it and actually use it. We've actually got some really cool, exciting API updates that that they're pushing out, that Automox is pushing out, that we're going to actually integrate with some of our internal systems. We've had it in the works for a while, but we've been waiting on the Automox team to finish their development and push this API live for us. So it's really exciting. We're looking forward to it and integrating that with some of our internal tools.
That's great, because one of the things as an advisor is I've been advising them on some of their APIs for partners, specifically like you, managed service providers, want to integrate a lot of the different capabilities back and forth, patch progress, patch notifications, et cetera, right? They want that all available via an API. So if you have another system that's managing aspects of the inventory, et cetera, you can integrate all those pieces together. So Jared, I know there's some updates coming, which sounds like you're going to leverage and get integrated and hopefully probably even automate a little more than what you're doing today.
Absolutely. Our team is super excited about these updates. I just had a meeting with, I believe it was Gavin last week, and he was telling me what's in the pipeline. And I said, basically, I referred that over to the engineer, and he's really excited about it. So, I mean, we're definitely looking forward to it, as far as the changes go. Some of the other really, great features about Automox is, you can group certain types of PCs for various different reasons. For instance, if you want to have a group of servers that are strictly web servers and a group of servers that are strictly database servers, you can set it up that way so that you can manage them individually and differently based on roles, which is a big thing for us. Because as you know, taking a database server down isn't typically a daily task. It's as opposed to like desktops where you can say, hey, okay, desktops, let's get these things updated every day. Anytime there's a third-party application, available, patch for Adobe Reader or whatever, it kind of replaces the need to have to, kind of play mom of the local desktops for a client, and that really helps out our managed IT services division at Databerry. Not so much, really as important, of course, on web applications and things of that nature, because, the desktops don't exist in that world. But essentially, it's really nice that we can group and we can schedule patches as needed, through Automox very, very easily. The setup process for Automox is you're talking an hour, as opposed to most of these other systems that we looked at and we worked with. ConnectWise Automate and the Semantic Management IT Suite, those things required a tremendous amount of setup time, and it just is cumbersome. Whereas Automox, like I said again at the beginning, simplicity is part of the battle. If you're spending your time managing the management RMM tool, what's the point in having it? You might as well just manage the servers that you're dealing with in the first place. It's kind of like a catch-22. Do you waste hours managing the management, or do you waste time just managing the servers that you're trying to manage in the first place?
Right. No, that's great. That's great. Paul, any additional questions?
No, I'm good.
For Jared while we have him.
Awesome. Jared, thank you so much for appearing on Enterprise Security Weekly. You can go to securityweekly.com/Automox and find out more. They've got a trial out there, which is where we started and ended up licensing the product for all of our production systems. So thank you, everyone, for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time on Enterprise Security Weekly.